my favorite, which is coffee. So I always have a prop handy. So now, look, just to let everyone know, just for complete honesty and transparency, this will be a long chat simply because the reason, long talk, the simple reason is around about an hour, I think, simply because there is a lot going on in the Australian space industry. But in order to actually get to that particular point, we need to go all the way back in time, and we need to actually talk about those things that have happened with actually in 1967, and that's where we'll actually start this from. So just give me a second, guys. Just managing several bits of technology. All right, let's go. Yes. So I'm just going to start presenting from this point, and we'll start off with a video. Or it won't. I love technology when it works. So for everybody watching, sorry, I'm just turning my camera back on, just give it a few seconds until it lights back up. There it goes. All right, so just to let everyone know, Australia actually designed, built, and launched our very own satellite into low Earth orbit on a Redstone rocket way back in 1967. So yes, Australia had, for those of you who have actually asked the question before, and they've asked it online and they've asked it in different places, yes, Australia has a space industry, and we've had one since before 1967. In 1967 is when we actually launched the Weapons Research Establishment Satellite, or RESAT for short, which is featured on this t-shirt here. And that one actually went into low Earth orbit and orbited the planet Earth for around about 97 to 100 times before it actually came crashing back to Earth. So Australia has a very thriving and always active and ever-evolving space industry. So just to give you a bit of a background here, hang on, let me go to the next slide. Cool, hang on. No, it's not going to work. All right, so you're going to learn all things Spacey Down Under. It's amazing how a working title suddenly became the actual title to this whole talk. Anyway, that's a different story. So look, what I want you guys to do is I want you to grab yourselves a cup of coffee, or at least your favorite beverage, get nice and comfy because this is going to be a long one, and let's get started. Oh, no.
Josh, do you want to share your screen if you're sharing
slides?
It's not
sharing. Oh, no.
And if you've got any more videos, we did miss the sound on that last one.
No.
There we go.
Sorry,
perfect.
I missed a key button. Oh, why is it? Hang on. Sorry about that. Apologize to everyone concerned. Your ears are probably... Is that any better? Nope.
No.
Well, this is going to make for a very uninteresting presentation. But anyway, we'll press on regardless. So let me just share my screen once more. And I will have to, why has this got a massive amount of feedback? Anyway, all right, so I'll just continue on. I may have to skip all the videos, so I apologize if this is a little bit backwards and forwards and all that sort of stuff. So, all right, so I thought it might be a good idea to give you guys an idea of who I am, but I'm going to skip that because Tracy has already done a lovely introduction, so I'll stick with that. See, this is throwing me, so let's see how good my skills are. So that's all about my YouTube channel, which we'll skip that as well. So what's been happening in the Australian space industry since 1967? So a lot of things have actually happened in the Australian space industry during that time. So the question would be, so why on earth is an OECD nation like Australia without our own national space agency? And we haven't been with one after the 1967 launch. Whoops. Oh, wow, this is not fun. Hang on a sec. There we go. Try that. All right, that's better. All right, so Australia it hasn't had our own national space agency, and this is considering as a nation we've actually reached low Earth orbit, which is something many other countries and nations and commercial companies are still struggling to do. So basically, what's happened is, despite all of this, despite all this, Australia has actually been part of some of the biggest moments in space history. More importantly, the moon landing in 1969, where the first signals were actually received by Honeysuckle Creek. just for correction and all that sort of stuff, it wasn't actually the Parkes Observatory, it was Honeysuckle Creek that received the first signals from the moon landing in 1969. And the reason why Honeysuckle Creek actually started to receive the signal from the moon landing was simply because Neil Armstrong was too excited to sleep. So what's actually happened since then? And that was in 1969, 2 years after our RESAT launch. Australia has actually participated and been part of some of the biggest moments in space history. Being on this side of the planet, we are frequently in the right place to receive signals from a variety of deep space missions, and it's often received by the Deep Space Network. You can see the DSN in action in the background of many images from JPL and NASA, and you can see by the animation there that Canberra, right at the very bottom, is where we actually when we light up to receive signals from deep space missions, and you'll see that. Some of the things we've been in the right spot to capture signals from have been all the Mars rovers, including the unfortunate death of the Opportunity rover due to a massive planet-wide dust storm, which you can see there. We're also continuously tracking the Voyager 1 and 2 as they've crossed the heliopause and out of our own solar system and into interstellar space. We have tracked the Hayabusa 1 and 2, including re-entry over Woomera in South Australia for the Japanese Space Agency. We've also captured stunning images of planet Earth as it's lined up for an epic selfie. Yep, that's us underneath that white arrow. That's all of us, all of history, all of humanity, everyone. And that was actually initiated by Carl Sagan. And then we've actually assisted with capturing beautiful and stunning images and famous poses from Jupiter. We've also captured the very first images as well from Rosetta when it actually landed on Comet 67P. Now, I'm not going to say the name. I'm not really good at names, so we'll skip over that one. We'll glide over that one. So in July, in 2017, at the International Astronautical Congress in Adelaide, South Australia, the Australian Space Agency was announced at the same conference Mr. Elon Musk was at, and who was introducing the Big Falcon rocket. It was known by another name at that point, but we're not going to go there. All right, which has now become Starship. It was actually during this the International Astronautical Conference that the Australian Space Agency was announced. In July 2018, which happens to be the beginning of our new financial year here in Australia, because that's the way it works, the main focus of the Australian Space Agency has been support businesses to create manufacturing supply lines for the Australian space industry with its own products. So previously these were sourced from other countries and built and manufactured products by other countries, including the US, the UK, and the European Union. In December 2021, the Australian Space Agency has also Sorry, the Australian Space Agency has actually been established and is led by those two gentlemen you see there. On your left would be Enrico Palomiro, and the other one is Anthony Murfitt. Enrico has a well-established career, and he's previously worked as a Chief Operating Officer for Virgin Galactic. So Australia and the UK have had a very close links previously. So in December 2021, that's recently, within the last week or so, the Australian Space Agency has actually started a new initiative, and it's in conjunction with NASA to further assist and build sovereign manufacturing capability by putting out an ultimate and epic goal. Whoops, which I can't show you.
Josh, it might be worth checking your settings, because you can actually select a microphone and a speaker setting.
Okay. Just give me a second, guys. Sorry, apologize.
No need to apologize.
Oh, I'm frustrated. Give me a second. Where are the settings?
So if you go to the left-hand side, and you'll see chat, reactions, participants, settings. I think Josh has just gone. Oh no! Oh, you're back. You're back. Yes, there you go. I was like, oh no, Josh has just gone. This is why we love coffee. And can we please be reminded, Josh has been up all day. So
yes, I have. This is 8 p.m. in the evening in Australia, and it's currently dark outside. So yeah, and it's the middle of summer as well. So it's been a very, very interesting, hot, muggy day, because it's, you know, we live in the subtropics. So where are my settings?
So go to the left, and you'll see four tabs.
Yep.
Yeah, settings. Can you see it at the bottom?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then you can select a microphone and a speaker. So if you select your speaker for your output for your, I don't know if you're using a laptop or desktop or something.
Desktop.
There you go.
It's coming to my headphones.
Okay. Have you got an option to change that?
Yeah, but it doesn't come to my headphones, and I won't be able to hear you then.
Okay. That's not going to work. Never mind. Just make rocket noises for us. It's fine.
No, let's not do that.
Okay, we'll just carry on without it. Don't worry about it.
We'll carry on and pretend there's noise. So that was supposed to be a dramatic reveal, and now it's not going to be anything. So yeah, so hang on, let me just share my screen. I'll just share that. I'll explain it. So in December 2019, December 2021, I apologize to everyone. I'll try and get myself back on track and see if it works. Anyway, all right. So just rewind a little bit. In December 2021, so this was actually last week, believe it or not, the Australian Space Agency has actually signed an agreement with NASA. And what this will do, as you can see with the picture on the screen, is the Australian Space Agency is going to land a rover on the moon, our very own Aussie rover, that will land on the moon as early as 2026. So we've actually gone through the main initial discussions with NASA about that, and we're about to implement it very, very soon. So, and what this is intended to do is actually inspire the Australian manufacturing sector to actually work towards building the components for the Aussie moon rover. All right, moving right along, considering that doesn't work. No. Okay, there we go. All right, so since 2018, the Australian Space Agency has also done a number of signed a number of different memorandums of understanding, or MOUs. So in terms of the MOUs, we've actually signed MOUs with the US, France, India, Germany, Italy, the UAE, and New Zealand. We've also signed an MOU with you guys in the UK, and interestingly enough, we've signed another one for a space bridge. And the whole purpose of the space bridge is actually for government to government collaboration in space programs and technology, to trade in an investment, including commercial contracts and collaboration, and research and education. So we've already uniquely done that with you guys in the UK. So just to give you an idea, so the image on the right-hand side there is a picture of an AUSSIENAUT. You can get those on shop.joshkeegan.com. Anyway, a little bit of self-promo there. All right, let's keep going. So now we need to fast forward through to space, the rise of Space 2.0. So the rise of Space 2.0, what that's managed to do is it's actually brought about with Elon and the ability to land the Falcon 9, the first stage of the Falcon 9 back on Earth. What that has inspired and what it's done is given rise to Space 2.0. It's actually, what it's done is it's impacted us here in Australia as well as everyone else in the world. So what that has meant is that it has inspired a number of individual companies to go through and start moving towards Space 2.0. So I'm going to start out with the first one, which will be these guys. Whoops. I'll skip over that. Yeah, that's interesting. Sorry. So PFI Aerospace is the first one. So PFI Aerospace is signed an MOU with Lockheed Martin. Oh, sorry, Northrop Grumman. I've got the wrong symbol. That's all right. Just pretend it's Northrop Grumman. Anyway, and what this means is PFI Aerospace is able to refine its design of its suitcase rocket. So what I'll do is I'll skip back one and I'll show you what that looks like. Sorry, you just have to imagine amazing rocket sounds. So, yeah, that was me. I took that. That was actually taken by one of my cameras. And that was the first time the suitcase rocket engine, or as it's commonly known, is now called Haley. And that was the first time it was ever fired, and I did that with PFI Aerospace. So PFI Aerospace is led by Nick Green, who you can see there, and what they've done is they've designed that suitcase rocket engine. As you can see by the lower image, it can actually be taken into high schools, and students can pull it apart and play with it. And then once they've actually played with it, so they can play it, so it's all safe materials and everything that goes with it. And so what they can do is they can program up the board to actually fire the rocket. They can play around with it. It is because it's a hybrid, it's relatively safe. There's nothing to go off. Then they can take it weighs about 20 kilos, and you can pick it up using the black handle at the top, and you can carry it out to the school oval or field or wherever you're going to, and stand about 50 meters away and then fire it off to see whether or not it'll actually work. The whole idea behind Haley is to get kids interested and inspired to go into the space industry, because what was missing, what Nick realized, what was missing out of the Australian space industry was a lead-in of kids getting excited to actually work in the Australian space industry, because traditionally, as you've seen, we've actually had to outsource for most of our products. What you can also see there as well is on the fins there that you can see, that's from Dream Dancer, I think it is, or Dream Chaser or something. Anyway, so that Sky Dancer. I knew I get that wrong. Heat of the moment. So Sky Dancer, and that is actually being designed for universities to use. So that will cost less than $150,000 rocket in total, including propellant and everything else, where university students will be able to take the rocket and launch it to suborbital velocities. And PFI Aerospace is looking to do this. The last picture you can see there has to do with another one called Haley. Oh, I can't remember the name of the other one, and it's disappeared off my notes. Oh, Amber. Sorry, apologize. It's called Amber, and that's also another rocket engine that can be fired on school grounds. And that's more of a demonstration for younger kids around about primary school or anywhere between 5 and 10 years old, 5 to 12 years old, I guess. So this is what it looks like when it fires. Again, imagine cool rocket sounds. again, with that video that with Amber as well, Amber was actually fired in front of me. Again, my camera, I was up close, and what you missed out on the end there, because I edited it a little bit too short, was me going, yeah, in the background, simply because it was the first time I'd actually seen a rocket engine fired in front of me. And I was only standing around about 50 meters away. Admittedly, I was behind a car at the time, just in case things went a little bit awry, but it was actually done in PFI Aerospace's parking lot, straight out the front of the business. All right, moving right along. So in terms of getting kids inspired into the Australian space industry, there is another company that also is doing a lot of work in that area as well, and that's called One Giant Leap Australia. There's also a foundation that exists in behind that as well. So Jackie Carpenter is one of the founders of One Giant Leap and has created an organization in order to foster and spark the interest of students in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So STEM. Some of the products that she is working on have involved the Kibo Robot Programming Challenge. That's an educational program in which students solve various problems by programming free-flying robots, Astrobee and Intball on orbit on the International Space Station. So kids can actually program robots that are flying around on the International Space Station right now. There's also been the International Spacecraft Exploration Challenge. This has involved students working part of a mission team to, one, design a spacecraft, navigate to another planet, land a vehicle, build a planetary habitat, and explore the new planet to find resources that help sustain human life. So students in this one in particular were able to learn from subject matter experts, including astronauts, scientists, and engineers who are directly involved in ongoing missions as they compete with other teams for the best mission design. So other things they've done as well includes NASA and JPL astronauts as well. Now this is, so the other thing they've done as well is, let's see, that I need to mention on this slide is Seeds in Space. So that's where, see if I can flip this across. There we go, Seeds in Space. This is where Australian wattle seeds have actually gone to the International Space Station, around about 50 grams. Now, there is a speech by Soichi Noguchi, the JAXA astronaut. So what One Giant Leap Australia has done is they've sent some wattle seeds. The picture of the wattle is the yellow tree you can see in the middle there. That went to the International Space Station, 50 grams worth of seeds, and Soichi Noguchi it gives a lovely speech, which you won't hear, but is also on one of my other videos on my channel. I had a fortune to actually interview Jackie in regard to all of this. And what they did recently was they had a seed planting ceremony where Soichi Noguchi was able to say to the kids of Caulfield Primary School in Melbourne, in Victoria, Australia, is yes, these are the same seeds that I had with me on the International Space Station. How did they get there? They went up on a SpaceX cargo Dragon, then was left at the International Space Station for 7 months before actually traveling back to Earth. They came via via JAXA back into Australia once they had cleared quarantine and all those sorts of things in terms of bio quarantine, not COVID quarantine. Anyway, so they came back into Australia and they've been distributed to around about 300 odd schools right around the country. And most importantly, Soichi Noguchi was able to address the individual students, not the individual students, address the Caulfield Primary School and let them know that yes, indeed, the seeds they have and they were planting on that day did go to the International Space Station. So they had the verification there. What's next? For One Giant Leap Australia is the Connecting Minds project. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because it's a little bit of a promo as well, because Jackie needs to get the word out to as many people as possible. So the Connecting Minds project is all about One Giant Leap, in conjunction with teachers and students in Australia, will connect them with students and teachers from the UAE virtually to create STEM projects together. This will actually be showcased in Dubai Expo 2020 at the Australian Pavilion in the Wattle Room. Nice little connection. So if you happen to be in Dubai, if you happen to be traveling, and if the UK allows people to travel to the UAE, then please, if you want to catch up with Jackie and if you're interested in this sort of stuff, please, on the 11th of January between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. local time, Jackie will be in the Wattle Room, so you can meet her personally. If you wish, you can also meet up with, email Jackie at onegiantleap@bigpond.com. All right, moving right along. Good. All right, let's get into the launch capability. And this is where things become interesting and a little bit more dynamic. So this is where Australia is. Despite the fact that we have been lost in political rhetoric and things have been downgraded, and we never actually fully established our own space agency until 2018. Yes, there have been a number of companies who have tried to do all this, and in 2018, when it was finally formed, it basically gave all of these companies a voice. The first one we'll start out with is Australia's space launch. So it's headed up by Richard Allen, who you can see there. He's the head of the Australia Space Launch, and his son, John Allen, have created a mobile launch facility and all supporting equipment, allowing for launches anywhere inside Australia. So the launch facility that you can see there is complete and total. It actually allows for pre-launch operations, including preparing the rocket ready for launch, tracking the rocket during launch, mobile launch and control center, which to actually facilitate everything that you need to facilitate in terms of a rocket launch, range control and clearing capability, where they run 3 different types of radar to actually track a rocket in flight. And then there's also rocket recovery for any suborbital launches when they finally return to Earth, which you see there. That is ASL and Australia Space Launch and the team from the University of Queensland, who were out past Goondiwindi. It's a little regional town in Queensland where they were launching rockets, suborbital rockets, and recovering them. And I have a nice little picture somewhere of one of the rockets that's buried halfway in the ground because things didn't go so well. All right, moving right along. All right, we get to Equatorial Launch Australia. So Equatorial Launch Australia, or ELA, is led by CEO Carly Scott, the one with the long hair, just for reference, not the other one. That guy's someone else. Recently, ELA has taken the covers off what it is attempting to do with building its own orbital launch pad in Dulumbi in the Northern Territory. They've moved from nothing more than a design mock-up, which you can see there in the lower part of the screen, to actually physically building something. ELA has even produced a video with the head of the Australian Space Agency, Enrico Palomero, and which will be involving NASA. Now, I can't play that because there's no audio, so we'll move right past it. New. All right, so we come to Black Sky Aerospace. Now, this is where it starts to get interesting. So Black Sky Aerospace is led by Blake Nikolic, the man on the right this time, just for reference, same guy. So in September 2021, this Queensland company actually received funding to build a responsive common use booster, or RCUB, for commercial use under the Australian Space Agency grant towards NASA's Moon to Mars initiative. So yes, in signing deals and MOUs, we actually have joined the Artemis program as a country. And as part of that as well, we've also signed up for NASA's Moon to Mars initiative. Okay, so in November 2021, so yes, there's a lot of things that have happened, but yes, towards the end of the year, I always find that there's a lot of things that happen all at once. So in November 2021, Black Sky Aerospace successfully launched its own Cyter rocket, which you can see there taking off in the background. It made it to a height of 30,000 feet in less than 30 seconds. And basically what it was to do was to provide crucial test and evaluation data to continue to develop in-house avionics and telemetry systems. It also completed a static fire of a missile motor, proving out propellant and energetics while capturing the performance characteristics of a unique composite hardware manufacturing. Okay, let's see if I can... I'll just see if I can change my settings. I might turn my speakers off. Okay, let's see. Let's see if that works. I'm just trying an experiment, so I apologize, and I shall rewind. I shall stop. I shall reshare. Does that work? No. That doesn't work at all.
No, we're just getting that feedback again.
Technology is wonderful, isn't it?
When it works.
So I'll go back to sharing the screen.
Yeah, you're doing a grand job though, Josh. Just keep it going. We're learning a lot.
All right, so you just have to imagine that there's a wonderful video about the testing of these rockets. So that brings us to Valiant Space. Fortunately or unfortunately in this particular instance. So we're all the way down to Valiant Space, and it didn't take as long as what I thought. So Valiant Space has actually been started by students from the University of Queensland and is now led by Andrew, and I apologize, Andrew, if you're listening, Orsinki, I think. So Valiant Space has designed and built their own non-toxic, high-performance, low-cost, liquid-fueled rocket engine and tested it out at a place called Funny Farm in Goondiwindi in regional Queensland. So Funny Farm is all the way out in regional Queensland, and what it does is it's used for model rockets and launching model rockets. And yes, believe it or not, Valiant Space has a lot to do with Black Sky Aerospace. Again, the ball guy. So Blake Nikolic has actually helped Valiant Space establish themselves, and there's a nice little sign line. Black Sky Aerospace is actually starting to develop its own our own rocket fuels, liquid rocket fuels, to help power future rocket engines inside Australia. So again, that would be a nice little video, but that's not going to work. So we'll move right along. Southern Launch. So Southern Launch is based in Adelaide in South Australia and is led by CEO Lloyd Dent. Different ball guy. Got to stop saying that. Southern Launch was made international news in 2020 when they launched 2 rockets to 85 kilometers. So that was our first suborbital flight since 1967. Let me just point that out. The rocket was used as a stage 2 vehicle called DART, with DART weighing and it ran about 34 kilograms and was about 3.4 meters in length. No, I don't have the conversions if you can't deal with that. The payload was weighing less than 500 grams, so it wasn't exactly a big payload that was going to the 85-kilometer suborbital launch. Since this time, Southern Launch has also completed a small rocket launch facility at Whalers Way, which is on that map there, and it's right down the very bottom of Australia, right down the hanging part there. Don't know how else to describe that. It's on a peninsula. Anyway, so with Whalers Way, now there is no audio with this. Let me say that is that with Whalers Way and when it was all created, they were actually going to attempt to launch their HiPath 1 from Taiwan's very own Thai space. So that's Taiwan's version of their own commercial space industry, and that's what it looked like. Unfortunately, the VSO-1, which you see in the beautiful video there with no audio, was unable to launch because it actually experienced a fire on the pad, which actually damaged the engine and was no longer able to launch. Okay, now we come to the Rolls-Royce end of this. So here you can see Gilmour Space Technologies. So Gilmour Space Technology is led by Adam Gilmour and his brother James Gilmour. So Adam is on the right and James is on the left. In June 2021, they received additional funding to assist with the building the AEROSPACE three-stage rocket, which is currently under construction at the Gilmour's factory on the Gold Coast. So as you can see where that love heart is on the map, that's Brisbane, and slightly south of that is the beautiful and wonderful Gold Coast, Australia's Gold Coast. So you may want to look that one up. It's beautiful. So you can literally surf and build rockets. In May 2021, Gilmour Space Technologies expressed an interest in the small-scale launch facility at Abbott Point in Bowen and Queensland's north coast. In 2020, the Queensland government commissioned a technical and environmental study on Abbott Point's potential as a launch location. So as you can see, it's about halfway up the Queensland coast there. So lastly, Gilmore Space is leading a push to for a group of around 30 individual companies. Whoops. That's fine. It has no audio. Phew. All right. Lastly, Gilmore Space is leading the push for a group of around 30 companies to develop the Australian Space Manufacturing Network, which includes support from both Boeing and Airbus. The AMSN aims to establish 3 new space facilities in Queensland. One, a common test and manufacturing facility, enabling members to advance in their space research and technology at a lower cost. Advanced manufacturing facility for building commercial rockets and satellites, anchored by Gilmore Space. And 3, an orbital spacepoint at Abbott Point near Queensland, near Bowen in North Queensland, to help bring many of these products directly into space. So that's what Gilmore is doing at the moment. Gilmore Space Technologies is moving toward inaugural flight in the third quarter of 2022, and in September 2021, they recently completed its engine test, further building out their overall capability. Again, imagine wonderful rocket sounds. The key test to this is only 10 seconds, was that you'll notice when it fires, mark diamonds are actually clearly be seen, and this is a hybrid rocket engine, exactly the same as the one that's used by Virgin Galactic. Okay, we come to the manufacturing side of things now. So this is Fleet Space Technologies. Fleet Space Technology is led by Flavia Tatia Nadini. Sorry, Flavia, if you're listening. She probably isn't. Fleet Space was recently celebrated their 5th anniversary. So Fleet Space has been awarded money from the Australian government as Moons to Mars Supply Chain Capability Improvement Grant. So we have a number of grants, and that's what the Australian Space Agency so far has been putting their efforts towards. They received the funding to improve the capability of the hybrid satellite, low-powered wide area network, and they have just announced the world's first 3D printed satellite. Again, things happen at the end of the year. And this one happened at the end of the year. It was only announced last week. Fleet Space has also signed a contract with Gilmore Space Technologies. You can see Adam Gilmore in the middle there. And on the other side is Peter Kinney. Sorry, I got it wrong when I did it on my channel, so I apologize, Peter. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be delivering their satellites to orbit in 2023. The launches will be completed on the Gilmore's AEROS rocket, and which is the first all Australian built rocket, and all Australian built nano satellites. Fleet Space also has a large history of actually launching hardware into orbit. It started with its first launch in 2018 with Proxima 1 and 2 and Centauri 1 and 2. Centauri, doesn't matter. All right, so moving right along. Spiral Blue. So Spiral Blue is led by Tawfiq Haq, and Spiral Blue has actually hitched a ride on the very first launch of Tubular Bells on the 30th of June 2021 with Virgin Orbit. So yes, we have a history with you guys, like a lot. Spiral Blue is looking to take edge computing to space to process images on orbit before actually sending them back to Earth. It's using the Space Edge Zero computing chip. The aim of Spiral Blue is to democratize images from space, making them cheap so anyone in any country can actually access the images. Spiral Blue is one of the 30 companies that was mentioned before to join Gilmore Space's Australian Space Manufacturing Network. All right. This is where it gets really, really interesting and really, really exciting. We move right along to Sabre Astronautics. Now, Sabre Astronautics is led by CEO Jason Held, and he's pictured there. I like the guy because he actually has a beard. Him and I match. So a major announcement was actually made in November, on the 23rd of November, between Sabre Astronautics and Axiom Space to facilitate Australian astronauts to fly to the International Space Station for future missions. So Axiom Space, just as a quick reference, is a private infrastructure company and is in the process of building additional segments for the International Space Station and is due to complete its first private astronaut mission on a SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft. The new segments that the Axiom Space is actually building is designed to attach to the ISS, or in the event the ISS is actually discontinued, then it will have the capability to be the world's first independent private space station. So yes, this is the birth and the rise of the AUSSIENAUT. Sorry. Anyway, I had to turn on the screen for that, so sorry. All right, so, and last but not least, we have our actual first commercial AUSSIENAUT, believe it or not. Ever heard of Planet, the guys who actually do the images? So if it's images from space and monitor the planet all over, who recently floated on the stock exchange, that was it. New York Stock Exchange, that was the one. All right, so that is commercial. So our first commercial AUSSIENAUT was Dr. Chris Borzine. Oh, really? These guys really need simpler names. Seriously. Anyway, I'll call him Dr. Chris. Dr. Chris has become Australia's first commercial AUSSIENAUT, and is launched on the second Blue Origin flight, carrying none other than Captain Kirk himself, William Shatner, pictured there. He is actually launched with William Shatner, and they went over the Kármán line, which is something that Blue Origin has labored very, very hard to say that they beat Virgin Galactic with. And unfortunately, it's one of those things where they're trying to beat everybody. That's them. So Dr. Chris is actually one of the founders of Planet Labs, and has received his degree at the University of Sydney. Planet Labs had changed the game in terms of orbital imaging and providing daily images of our changing world. So, all right, let's keep going. That's it. We're done. You've got up to date on all things Spacey Down Under. That's everything. So you know everything. So I hope you've managed to enjoy your cup of coffee, or at least your favorite beverage. And you found out a lot about the Australian space industry. So if you want to go to my channel, you'll find that on my channel, I've done interviews with the vast majority of these people that I've mentioned, including Adam Gilmore from Gilmore Space Technologies. And the Gilmore Space Technologies has received its lion's share in initial venture funding capital. So they are well and truly equipped to and getting ready to launch into space in the third quarter of 2022. I recently spoke with Peter Kinney, the head of sales, and that's where they said they're up to. So if you want more information on the failure of UK's history in space, which matches ours, so Bros Nams here, Bros Nams, seriously. Please follow Urban Spaceman 64 on Twitter. The guy knows a lot about what's actually happened with the UK's failure in failed history in space. You guys were as close as we were, if not closer, to actually launching and having a full space program. And just like us, now have one, and you are building one as well. A lot of information if you want to find out about RESAT, the RESAT satellite. You can find out more in a book called Fire Across the Desert by Peter Morton. That actually is by the Australian Department of Defence as well. They have a lot to do with that. And it actually goes into a lot of technical detail and tells the stories behind the people who were part of the Weapons Research Establishment, which it was called, that developed missiles and other things in Woomera in South Australia, which also has managed to capture return chunks of an asteroid for JAXA. So as well, let me just see. Oh, there it goes. Look at that. You can get some cool merchandise like this at shop.joshkeegan.com, which we already said at the beginning, so we can just glaze over that. You can please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to keep up to date with everything that's happening on the Australian space industry. I certainly like to, as you can tell, bang on about it and like really talk to death about it. I get so enthusiastic and excited about it. This is my hobby. This is my passion. I love it to death. Please feel free to subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you feel entitled to do so. If there's a video you like, please give it a thumbs up, comment. The reason why is because now I'm on that cycle, as same as every other YouTuber, is it actually helps YouTube promote my stuff to other people who might be interested in the Australian space industry. So I'm not giving long, laborious talks like this one and boring people to death about the Australian space industry, because as you all have just found out, I can go on and on and on and on and on. All right.
Shall I stop you now, Josh?
Right. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you, Jack.
And remember, as always, stay caffeinated.
I think maybe you're too caffeinated.
Questions.
I'm just going to stop the